Repairing a sailing boat for many months at sea involves so many different jobs covering a whole array of areas, but in this video specifically we're going to talk about provisioning and how we hopefully have saved many thousands of pounds on our food and drinks bill from last year. After reflecting on our frankly amazing adventures last year, it became apparent fairly quickly that visiting these super stunning places didn't come cheap. The marinas, the moorings, in some cases even anchorages were all mega expensive. And any of the shops that happened to be even a relatively close proximity to sea, they were costly. And it only got more eye-watering the further west we went. You see, even though we had provisioned last year before we set sail, the truth of the matter is we just hadn't planned it all that well. So what ultimately ended up happening is we very often found ourselves in the local shops getting additional groceries, which, as I say, added up very quickly. So this year we decided to get more organised and plan and buy more effectively for many months, living and travelling on Cadoa. So Carly and I generally eat 2 meals a day. Every now and then, fairly infrequently, we'll have breakfast, but by and large 2 meals a day. So based on that, seeing as we're going to be away for the next at least 4 months, we decided we need to buy at least 500 portions of food. Alright, so one of the key stipulations to this project is long-term storage, and that meant buying things like a flour mix to make our bread as opposed to buying loaves, and long-life milk as opposed to stopping and getting fresh cartons of milk every couple of days. Okay, so this mission breaks down into 3 key areas. Step 1, we need to know exactly how many portions of food we're going to need. Check. Step 2, we need to figure out exactly where we're going to store all this food. And step number 3, we need to make sure we get enough variety in this provisioning trip so that it doesn't get boring. Now we have an idea of a plan, it's time to put it into action, get provisioning. So I'm back in the yard, and the only trolley that's left, is going to be the trolley with flat tyres. Of course it is. This is going to be fun. And after hauling our bounty all the way back to Cadoa, it's safe to say that we ran out of storage space fairly quickly, and we were using up every last little quirky nook and cranny the boat had to offer, which has meant our supplies have basically ended up spilling out into the guest accommodation. But people stay on board Cadoa so infrequently anyway that I guess for us it just makes perfect sense to fill that space up with our dry stores. And that brings us on to our next goal, which we're making a really concerted effort for this year. That's to find, hunt, forage, gather as much wild food as we possibly can to supplement our dry stores. And something else that we've added to the fray are these freeze-dried meals. Allegedly there's 45 meals here in freeze-dried food, a bunch of different flavours, but the reason we like these is because they don't take up a great deal of space, they're light, they're easy to store, dead easy to cook, you just add water. And just for those days where you don't feel like cooking, maybe you don't feel very well, or you're on passage and you don't want to be down below too long because you feel queasy, maybe you're just feeling lazy, perhaps you just want a backup of your backup supplies and you're running out of space rapidly. All of those reasons kind of made us pull the trigger and try these. We're not sponsored by Huel or anything, we bought these with our own money. I think it cost us about £100 and that was, I think, about 45 meals worth, so we'll give those a go as well. So this is another thing we thought would make a great investment, seeing as we were going to be living off of tinned, canned and jarred food. And we didn't want it to be a depressing endeavour, quite the opposite. We wanted it to really be a great eating experience. So we didn't want to be eating corned beef and baked beans, we want to jazz it up, and so we got some ideas from people who know. So the big question is, how much did this all cost? There's some massive receipts here. The first shopping load cost £100. The second one, that was a very small one that Carly went and did. The next one was £215. The last one, the big shopping trolley, which contained all the meat mostly, was £374. And then on top of that, the Huel, we spent roughly £100, which comes to a grand total of £789 there or thereabouts. So we spent about £800, which is a hell of a lot less than we spent just popping to the shop every day. 20 quid here, 10 quid here, 15 quid here. And hopefully, not only have we really thought long and hard about all the meals we're going to eat and they're all prepared in advance, but this will stop all of those impulse buys that the shops are just perfectly set up in order for you to do. Like, oh, maybe I will have those sweets and maybe I'll have that bottle of rum and do you know what, I need a couple of, I haven't had those for a while. Hopefully we can cut all that out and be a bit more disciplined this year. So as I mentioned earlier, the goal really is to harvest as much fresh wild food as we possibly can while staying in beautiful and completely free anchorages. And I guess the question is, what does that look like in practice? Well, looks a bit like this. This is where our dry goods Sainsbury's mega shop, where the rubber hits the road with trying to consume as much fresh meat as we possibly can. And earlier today, Justin and I went for a dive and caught this monster of a spider crab. That's a big male spider crab. You can tell by his huge pinchers. The females have got much smaller ones, and this thin strip here, the females again have a much more oval strip. But we're going to dispatch this guy, butcher him up, and we're going to have some, say, fresh meat to go along with the dry goods that we bought from Sainsbury's. Okay, so I did the actual dispatching off camera for anyone who's a bit squeamish. But basically, you lift this flap up here, and you just go straight in through here, and that kills him instantly. Like, he's just completely limp now. And then I'm going to just separate his crown here. These are the infamous dead man's fingers, which I believe are his gills. We're not going to eat those, or his internal organs. Basically, most of the meat is in his legs, these massive chunky claws, and there'll be some little bits of meat in the shoulder section as well. So that's what we're going to eat. So I'm going to clean all this out, I'm going to get him prepared, and get him ready for a bite to eat.
There we go. We have fire, baby.
Break him straight down the middle.
Get these guys in there.
So let's squeeze that all in.
We've got the skin leg there.
With a tight squeeze.
It is a tight squeeze. Woo!
only there was a way for cameras to send and receive smell.
Flatbreads and some
chopped onion. We crack open and have a look at one of those big claws, because I think if one of those is cooked, everything is cooked.
Yeah, oh.
Good? It looks good. Got all the flavour of that garlic, the crab, the onion. Look at all that. Look at all that. It's one claw. One claw.
I was just listening to crab today.
Oh my goodness. So good. So some of you may have guessed, some of you may not, we're in Studland Bay. We haven't done like a big here with all video about Studland Bay because we've already got one. You can check it out in the link below. But after a cracking meal of freshly wild caught meat, we're going to go over and see our friend Buccaneer, Justin, over on Buccaneer, which we see him every time we're here. He is like the iconic, he has the most iconic boat, and he's like the centerpiece of the parties that take place in Studland Bay. So knowing him, he's probably got some, I don't know, he's already got some super cool people on the boat playing music, chilling out, cooking great food. So we're going to head over, say hello, and then, oh, I think he's over there.
Talk is cheap, my darling, when you're feeling right at home. I wanna make you move with confidence, wanna be with you alone. Say help me help you start it, you're too comfortable to know. Throwing out those words, no, you've gotta feel it on your own.
Doesn't look too bad, eh? Well, if you love the idea of an adventure and you love the idea of an adventure on a shoestring budget, then why don't you follow us along? Why don't you come join in? Hit the subscribe button, come join the team, and most importantly, and this goes for any of you watching, jump into the comments and let us know the kind of videos you would like to see along these lines, because we read all the comments and it gives us some ideas, some food for thought of what to produce in the future. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this. Bye for now.